Ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment we all face when silence becomes the loudest answer. You're waiting for a message that never comes, hoping for effort that's never made. And it hurts, doesn't it? That pause, that gap, feels like rejection disguised as indifference. But let me tell you something, it's not your worth being questioned here. It's the universe nudging you, whispering, don't chase what's not chasing you back. You see, the ones who truly value you don't leave you wondering. They show up. They put in the effort. They fight for your presence in their lives. So if his silence feels deafening, maybe it's time to stop waiting for a sound that doesn't serve your soul. Today we're diving into the power of recognizing your own value and what it means to let go of what isn't fighting to stay. Stay with me, you'll see that the answers you've been searching for were never in his hands. They're in yours. There's an unspoken truth in the spaces where words don't exist. When a man doesn't text you first, it's not just about the lack of a message, it's about the energy he's choosing to withhold. Silence, in this context, is not just the absence of communication, it's a message in itself. And often, it's louder than anything he could ever say. In relationships, whether budding or established, effort is the foundation upon which connection grows. Effort doesn't have to mean grand gestures. It can be as simple as reaching out, showing care, or initiating a conversation. When someone doesn't make that effort, what they're essentially telling you is that their priorities lie elsewhere. It's not about whether you're worthy of love or attention. It's about what they're choosing to invest in. And here's the hard truth. If you constantly find yourself waiting, wondering, and hoping for him to make the first move, his silence may be the clearest answer you'll ever get. But don't confuse this realization with bitterness or self-doubt. His lack of communication doesn't diminish your value. In fact, it does the opposite. It highlights an opportunity for you to honor yourself. When silence takes center stage, it's your cue to redirect your energy not toward questioning your worth, but toward preserving your peace. You can't force someone to text you, care for you, or prioritize you. What you can do is listen to what their silence is teaching you to stop chasing people who aren't chasing you back. Here's the beauty of recognizing this silence isn't rejection, it's redirection. When someone doesn't text you first, it creates a space for you to focus on the things that truly matter: your growth, your joy, and the relationships where effort flows naturally. It reminds you that love and connection are not games of pursuit. They're mutual dances of give and take. Think of it this way: every time you resist the urge to text someone who won't text you first, you reclaim a part of your power. Every time you choose to let their silence stand without chasing it with your words, you affirm your value. You're not someone who needs to beg for attention or validate your existence through their response. You're someone who deserves a love that's bold, consistent, and unquestionable. So what does their silence mean? It means they're not ready, or perhaps not willing, to match the energy you bring to the table. And that's okay. Let them stay silent. Let them fade into the background. Because the ones who are meant for you, the ones who truly see you, will never leave you wondering. Their effort will echo louder than silence ever could. Listen to what their silence is telling you. Then let it guide you not into doubt or despair, but into a place where you honor yourself enough to stop waiting for people who don't deserve your time. Silence may be loud, but your self-worth will always speak louder. Effort is one of the simplest yet most telling indicators of someone's intentions. It doesn't require grand gestures or poetic declarations. It's in the small, consistent actions that show you where their priorities truly lie. When someone doesn't put in the effort, especially when they never text you first, it's more than just a momentary lapse. It's a reflection of their truth. Think about it. In today's world, where a message can be sent in seconds, how much effort does it really take to reach out to someone? Not texting you first isn't about being busy or forgetful, it's a choice. And choices reveal where someone's heart and mind are. Effort is never about convenience, it's about care. When someone cares, they show it. They think of you, they prioritize you, and they don't leave you questioning where you stand in their life. Here's the thing about effort. It's not something you can teach someone to give. You can't beg, plead, or persuade someone into showing up for you. Real effort comes from a place of genuine desire and interest. When a man chooses not to text you first, he's essentially communicating without words that staying connected to you isn't a priority for him. And while that realization can sting, it's also incredibly freeing. Because once you understand that their lack of effort isn't a reflection of your worth, but of their willingness, you can stop pouring your energy into trying to change them. Effort tells the truth in ways words never can. Someone may tell you they care, but if their actions don't match their words, the truth lies in what they do, not what they say. And sometimes the lack of action, the silence, speaks volumes. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's one that can save you from wasting time and emotional energy on someone who isn't investing the same in you. But let's shift the focus for a moment. Instead of fixating on their lack of effort, think about where you're placing yours. Are you overextending yourself for someone who gives you breadcrumbs in return? Are you chasing a connection that's one-sided? Your energy is precious, and it deserves to be reciprocated. It's time to stop asking for effort where it doesn't exist and start giving that energy back to yourself. Effort in relationships should be mutual. It's not about keeping score or waiting for them to make the first move every time, but it's about balance. When someone consistently shows you through their actions or lack thereof that they aren't willing to put in the effort, believe them. They're showing you their capacity, their readiness, and their priorities. And here's the truth: you need to embrace the right person won't make you question their effort. They'll meet you where you are. They'll match your energy and your desire to connect. Stop settling for excuses disguised as silence. Effort doesn't lie, and neither should you to yourself. Let their lack of effort be the clarity you need to move forward, stronger and more self-assured than ever. Sometimes the loudest answers come from the quietest moments. When someone doesn't text you first, it's not just the absence of words, it's the unveiling of truth. Absence has a way of stripping away illusions, forcing us to see relationships for what they are rather than what we hope they could be. If he's never texting you first, his absence is doing you a favor. It's showing you what's real. In relationships, actions speak louder than intentions. It's easy for someone to claim they care, to say all the right things when you reach out. But the real question is, what do they do when you stop initiating? Do they step forward, or does their silence take over? When a man doesn't text you first, he's showing you exactly where you stand in his priorities. His absence isn't an accident, it's a reflection of how much or how little he's invested in the connection. This realization can be painful, especially if you've been the one always reaching out, keeping the conversation alive and making the effort. You might find yourself wondering why he doesn't care enough to do the same. But here's a perspective: to hold on to his absence isn't about you. It's about him, his capacity, his priorities, and his choices. And while you can't control his actions, you can control how you respond to them. Absence is a powerful teacher. It teaches us that no matter how much we want someone to care, we cannot force them to show up. It shows us the difference between longing and reality. And most importantly, it pushes us to face a difficult truth sometimes: the people we want most are not the ones meant for us. So let his absence do its work. Let it reveal what's real, and let it clear the path for what's next. Stop filling the silence with excuses or chasing after someone who doesn't reciprocate. Instead, lean into the clarity that absence provides. If he's not texting you first, it's a sign that his presence in your life is conditional, limited, and perhaps even replaceable. But absence isn't just about loss, it's also about making space. Every time you let go of someone who isn't making an effort, you create room for someone who will. You give yourself the chance to build relationships that are mutual, meaningful, and rooted in respect. Absence may sting, but it's also liberating. The right person won't leave you in doubt. They won't make you question their intentions or their interest. Their presence will be consistent, their effort unmistakable. So if his absence has become louder than his words, take it as a gift. It's not your job to beg for connection or force someone to see your value. Let his absence be the wake-up call you need to focus on those who choose to show up for you, and most importantly, to show up for yourself. There's a saying: what's meant for you will never pass you by. But so often we find ourselves chasing what clearly isn't meant for us. When someone doesn't text you first, it can feel like a rejection, like you're not enough. And in that feeling, you might be tempted to hold on tighter, to push harder, to chase after the connection. But the truth is, when you chase what isn't meant for you, you lose sight of what is. Let's be honest, relationships built on one-sided effort rarely last. If you're constantly the one initiating, constantly wondering if you matter, it's a clear sign the energy isn't mutual. Love, respect, and connection aren't things you should have to fight for. They should flow naturally, effortlessly. When you're chasing someone who isn't reciprocating, you're pouring your time, energy, and emotion into an empty vessel. And no matter how much you give, you'll never fill the void of someone who doesn't truly value your presence. But why do we chase? Often it comes from a place of fear, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of letting go of the potential we've attached to this person. But here's the thing, chasing what isn't meant for you doesn't just drain you, it blinds you to the opportunities waiting on the other side of letting go. When someone doesn't text you first, it's not an oversight or a mistake. It's a decision, a reflection of where you stand in their priorities. And instead of taking it personally or trying to change their behavior, ask yourself this: why am I chasing someone who doesn't choose me willingly? The moment you stop chasing, you regain your power. You take back control of your energy and begin to attract people and situations that align with your worth. Letting go isn't easy, especially when you've invested so much hope in someone. But it's necessary. You have to trust that the universe or whatever higher power you believe in knows what it's doing. If someone isn't texting you first, maybe it's because they're not meant to. Maybe their absence is creating space for someone better, someone who will prioritize you without hesitation. Chasing someone who isn't meant for you only delays your growth. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of seeking validation from someone who isn't willing to give it. But when you stop, when you let go, you open yourself to the kind of love and connection that doesn't need to be chased. So, if he's not texting you first, take it as a sign. Stop running after what's slipping away and start walking toward what's meant to find you. Trust that what's truly yours will come to you not through force or pursuit, but through alignment and mutual desire. Because the love that's meant for you won't require chasing, it will meet you exactly where you are. Letting go. It's one of the hardest things we're called to do in life, especially when it comes to relationships. But when a man never texts you first, it's not just a silence you're hearing, it's the universe nudging you toward the beauty of letting go. This isn't about giving up or walking away out of anger, it's about reclaiming your peace and embracing what truly serves you. We hold on to people for many reasons: hope, fear, love, or even the potential we see in them. But holding on too tightly can blind us to reality. When someone doesn't make an effort, when they don't text you first or prioritize reaching out, they're silently telling you where you stand in their life. And as much as it hurts, it's a truth worth acknowledging. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop waiting for someone to care in return. It's recognizing that love, attention, and effort cannot be forced. They must flow naturally, mutually. When you hold on to someone who isn't reciprocating, you're not just holding on to them, you're also holding on to the pain of unmet expectations. And that pain has a way of clouding your judgment, making you believe that if you just try harder, they'll come around. But here's the truth: if they wanted to, they would. Letting go is an act of self-love. It's choosing to prioritize your peace over the uncertainty of waiting. It's a declaration that you deserve effort, reciprocity, and care without having to beg for it. And yes, it's scary. It feels like stepping into the unknown, leaving behind the comfort of what you thought could be. But in that space of uncertainty lies the potential for growth, healing, and the kind of love that doesn't leave you questioning. There's a certain beauty in letting go because it frees you. It frees you from the weight of expectations that were never going to be met. It clears the emotional clutter, making room for the right people to enter your life, people who will text you first, who will make an effort, and who will value you without hesitation. When you let go, you're not losing anything. You're gaining clarity. You're gaining self-respect. And most importantly, you're opening the door to something better. Holding on to someone who doesn't value you is like clinging to a closed door, hoping it will open. But once you let go, you realize there are other doors waiting, ones that open effortlessly and lead you to places you never imagined. So if he's not texting you first, take a deep breath and release the need to hold on. Letting go isn't the end, it's a new beginning. It's the moment you stop settling for less and start allowing the best to find you. Trust in the beauty of letting go. It's where you rediscover your strength, your worth, and your ability to move forward into something extraordinary. There's a sacred power in knowing your worth. When someone never texts you first, it's easy to question yourself, to wonder what you could have done differently, or worse, to doubt your value altogether. But their silence isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a mirror of their priorities. And in that mirror, you have the opportunity to see something priceless, your own value. You are worthy of effort. You are deserving of someone who chooses you, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. When someone's silence becomes a pattern, it's not an accident, it's a decision. And while it's natural to feel hurt by that, it's also an invitation, a call to honor yourself in ways they didn't. Honoring your values starts with understanding this truth: your worth isn't tied to anyone else's actions, words, or lack thereof. When a man doesn't text you first, it's not about you being less, it's about him showing you where his energy is or isn't invested. Instead of taking his silence as rejection, see it as redirection, a chance to pour your energy into what uplifts you rather than what diminishes you. Silence can be deafening, but it also offers clarity. If someone isn't reaching out, isn't making the effort, they're showing you that their presence in your life is conditional, limited, or uncertain. And the beautiful thing about valuing yourself is that you don't have to settle for conditional love. You don't have to chase someone who doesn't prioritize you. Honoring your value means recognizing that effort should flow both ways, and if it doesn't, you're better off letting them go. When you honor your value, you set boundaries not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You stop overextending yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. You stop justifying their lack of effort and start investing in yourself. Because here's the truth: when you honor your worth, you attract people who see it too. Think of it like this: your time and energy are precious, and they should be spent on people who cherish them. By holding on to someone who can't even text you first, you're blocking the space for someone who will. Someone who will celebrate your presence in their life, who will reach out, and who will make an effort because they genuinely want to. Honoring your value is an act of courage. It's saying, I deserve more, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's walking away from silence and stepping into the abundance of people, opportunities, and love that align with your worth. So the next time you find yourself waiting for a text that never comes, remember this: your value doesn't diminish because someone else fails to see it. Honor yourself in their silence. Choose yourself over their indifference. Because when you truly honor your value, you don't just survive, you thrive. And that's where the magic begins. Patience is often seen as a virtue, but when it comes to relationships, waiting can sometimes become a trap. When a man never texts you first, it's not just an oversight, it's a clear message. And the longer you wait for something that won't come, the more you delay your own growth and happiness. Waiting for someone to text you first can feel like holding your breath underwater. You convince yourself that any moment now, the effort you've been longing for will arrive. But as the days stretch into weeks, the realization sets in the message you're waiting for isn't coming, at least not with the sincerity or intention you deserve. This isn't about impatience, it's about recognizing the truth. Relationships aren't meant to leave you in suspense, they're meant to bring clarity, connection, and effort from both sides. The act of waiting itself can become exhausting. Every time you glance at your phone, every time you hear a notification, you feel a flicker of hope, only to be met with disappointment. This cycle isn't just emotionally draining, it's a distraction from your own life. Waiting for someone who isn't prioritizing you takes away your focus, your energy, and your ability to be present for yourself and the people who truly value you. Here's a question to ask yourself: why am I waiting for someone who isn't waiting for me? Their lack of effort isn't a temporary oversight, it's a pattern, a choice. And no matter how much you wish it were different, you can't force someone to care or to act. The truth is, if they wanted to text you, they would. If they wanted to show effort, they would. Their silence isn't about timing or circumstance, it's about their priorities. So, what's the alternative to waiting? It's choosing yourself. It's deciding that your time and energy are too valuable to be spent on someone who doesn't reciprocate. Instead of waiting for their message, focus on creating your own joy. Invest in yourself, your passions, and the relationships that pour back into you. Waiting keeps you stagnant, but choosing yourself propels you forward. Letting go of waiting doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop placing your happiness in someone else's hands. It's not about bitterness or anger, it's about freedom. Freedom to live without constantly checking your phone. Freedom to focus on people and experiences that uplift you. Freedom to embrace the fact that you deserve effort without having to beg for it. The right person will never make you wait in doubt. Their effort will be consistent, their presence undeniable. So, don't wait for what won't come. Let their silence be your cue to move forward. Because the moment you stop waiting is the moment you take back your power. And that's when life truly begins to unfold in your favor. Kindness is a beautiful quality, but in relationships it isn't enough on its own. When a man never texts you first yet responds warmly when you initiate, it can create a confusing dynamic. You may find yourself thinking, he's so nice when we talk, maybe he just needs more time or a little push. But kindness without effort is a facade, and it's effort that ultimately determines the depth of a connection. In life, we're often told to value kindness above all else. And yes, being kind is essential. It reflects empathy, compassion, and respect. However, in relationships, kindness must be accompanied by action. A person who responds politely but never initiates communication is being courteous, not invested. And while it's tempting to hold on to their politeness as a sign of interest, you deserve more than surface-level interactions. Effort is what separates a casual connection from a meaningful one. It's what shows that someone values your presence in their life. When a man doesn't text you first, no matter how kind he is, when you reach out, his lack of initiation speaks louder than his words ever could. Effort requires intention, and without it, kindness becomes hollow, a shell of what a relationship could be. It's easy to make excuses for someone's lack of effort. You may tell yourself that they're shy, busy, or unsure of how you feel. But the truth is, when someone values you, they show it through consistent action. Effort doesn't mean grand gestures or constant communication. It means showing up, making time, and expressing care without prompting. Kindness can sometimes act as a trap, keeping you in a loop of waiting and hoping for more. You may feel guilty for expecting effort, thinking that as long as they're nice, you shouldn't ask for more. But relationships aren't built on kindness alone. They thrive on mutual respect, shared energy, and a balance of giving and receiving. Ask yourself this: am I holding on to their kindness as an excuse to overlook their lack of effort? If the answer is yes, it's time to reevaluate. Being nice when you reach out isn't enough. True connection requires more. You shouldn't have to wonder where you stand or feel like you're the only one keeping the relationship alive. Effort shows intention, and intention builds trust. When someone doesn't make the effort to text you first, they're showing you their level of investment. It's not your job to fill the gap or compensate for their lack of action. You deserve someone who not only responds with kindness, but also initiates with enthusiasm. Stop settling for politeness when you deserve passion. Recognize that kindness without effort is a mask, not a measure of love or interest. Effort will always speak louder, and when you honor that truth, you open the door to connections that truly value you. Because in the end, you're worthy of more than niceties. You're worthy of effort, intention, and genuine care.